This weekend offered some good news in our pandemic era. Among other things, Broadway is reopening. Yesterday, tickets went back on sale for New York's longest-running musical, The Phantom of the Opera. Performances begin this fall. Other big hits like Hamilton are expected to resume sales next week, and I cannot wait to give them all my money. Also, Los Angeles County entered the yellow tier of COVID restrictions this weekend. That's the lowest tier. That means expanded capacity at restaurants, gyms, movie theaters, amusement parks, theme parks, sports venues, and museums in and around LA. The politics of pandemic restrictions and reopening have been anything but smooth. A new book out this week might shed some light on why the pandemic's been so rough. Doom, The Politics of Catastrophe, analyzes the history of disaster and examines the networks that get destroyed in the chaos. A pandemic is not just made of a disease. It's also the social networks that the disease puts stress on. COVID's just the vehicle. The real pandemic is our response to it. Joining us now is the author of Doom, Niall Ferguson. He's also a senior fellow at the Hoover Institution. Mr. Ferguson, good evening. Welcome.
Great to be with you. Thanks so much.
I want to start with a line from your book on page 5 that I think frames a lot of what you discuss in the book. You write, "A pandemic is made up of a new pathogen and the social networks that it attacks. We cannot understand the scale of the contagion by studying only the virus itself, because the virus will infect only as many people as social networks allow it to. At the same time, a catastrophe lays bare the societies and states that it strikes. It is a moment of truth, of revelation, exposing some as fragile, others as resilient, and others as anti-fragile, able not just to withstand disaster, but to be strengthened by it." Anti-fragile. I don't know if I've seen much in the last year that has looked very anti-fragile to me, but what have you seen?
Well, the United States certainly did not handle this disaster well. And I think it's important to realize that this isn't the first disaster that we haven't handled well. In fact, if you think back over 20 years, we didn't really handle 9/11 well. The financial crisis, you can't really say that was a huge success story. But I don't think it was inevitable. And I don't think the United States has always mishandled crises. Just to give you an example of what we could have done, look at Taiwan, which I think is a good example of the anti-fragile variety. The Taiwanese reacted extremely swiftly to the threat back in January of 2020. They ramped up testing for this new coronavirus. They introduced a system of contact tracing using smartphones. And they also had a system of isolating people who were infected or thought to be infected. Result, 12 people in total have died of COVID in Taiwan. So we know that this could have been done a lot better. Our death toll is over 500,000, and it's not over because I guess about 700 people are still dying every day from COVID.
Yeah.
So we have to ask ourselves what exactly went wrong, and why did the United States turn out to do so badly in the initial phase and then turn out to get the crucial thing, vaccination, relatively right? I mean, the US has outperformed other countries when it's come to vaccination, though it still has some way to go. Remember, only a third of adults have been fully vaccinated so far. So that's kind of how to think about this. We could have done so much better, and we need to learn from this, because this will not be the last disaster we face, Joshua.
There are 3 concepts that you lay out in the book that might help change the way that we think about these kinds of catastrophes. I love the terms: a gray rhino, a black swan, and a dragon king. For a sci-fi fantasy nut like me, these are right up my alley. A gray rhino, something that's dangerous, obvious, highly probable, kind of like a rhino charging at you. A black swan, a hugely surprising event that would seem impossible. That came up in our conversation with Chris Voss a few weeks ago. And then a dragon king, which is an extreme event that still exhibits a degree of predictability. How do these 3 concepts help us think through the way that we respond to the next COVID, the next pandemic in America's future?
Yeah, it sounds a bit like a crazy zoo, doesn't it? But COVID, a pandemic, was a grey rhino. We saw this coming, or at least we should have done. There were any number of people who predicted that this would be the next big disaster. Bill Gates is one of the most famous, but he was only one of dozens of people who wrote about this. And yet, oddly, when it actually struck, we acted like it was completely unexpected. It was a black swan. I heard people use words like unprecedented, and yet it was anything but that. We've had multiple pandemics throughout history. The United States dealt with a really huge respiratory disease pandemic in 1918-19 and in 57-58 influenza. And of course, we grappled pretty ineptly, it must be said, at first with HIV/AIDS, another global pandemic. So we really should not have been surprised when the pandemic struck. In fact, we were on paper highly prepared for it. And this is one of the odd things about this, that the US ranked in 2019 amongst the countries best prepared for a pandemic. And on paper, we had lots of pandemic preparedness plans and any number of PowerPoint decks. There was a person at the Department of Health and Human Services whose one job it was to do pandemic preparedness. And yet when it actually struck, suddenly it wasn't a grey rhino, it was a black swan. The interesting thing is that I think it's also become one of those Dragon King events that actually has consequences even greater than the body count. And I think the historical significance of COVID will be much more than just the 3 or 4 or 5 million people that it ultimately kills around the world. Its consequences will be, I don't know, a bit like the world wars. They'll extend far beyond the death toll to include fundamental political change and social change.
The book is called Doom, The Politics of Catastrophe. Niall Ferguson, we appreciate you making time. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.